So it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this special event as we honor an individual who we all know well and love, Bob Baldwin, whose research and leadership has really helped shape the Canadian retirement income system. C'est avec grand plaisir que je vous accueille à cet événement spécial alors que nous rendons hommage à une personne que nous connaissons et aimons tous et dont les recherches et le leadership ont contribué à façonner le système de revenus de retraite canadienne. But before we begin, we do need to acknowledge this is an event, so we want to acknowledge Indigenous people of the traditional guardians of the land that we call Canada, in which we're gathered here today. And at TMU in particular, this is actually the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon, One Palm Agreement. So this week, as some of you already know, at the NIA, we did launch the Pension Center of Excellence, and this is basically going to be a world-class, nonpartisan, research-informed, and action-oriented platform that will be dedicated to improving retirement income security in Canada. So the PCE was really designed to bring together diverse stakeholders and thought leaders to address the challenges and opportunities that we have facing Canada's retirement income system. And today we're going to do exactly that. We are recognizing and celebrating one of Canada's most significant leaders for his contributions to the strengths and sustainability of our retirement system, and that is, of course, Bob Baldwin. So today is all about Bob. We all know and love Bob as a remarkable leader in the Canadian pension landscape. His expertise, an unwavering dedication to research and evidence and implementation has really been instrumental in shaping policies and practices that have safeguarded the financial well-being of Canadians SAH. Throughout his distinguished career, Bob's had lots of hats. He's provided invaluable leadership at the Canadian Labour Congress, at the Ontario's Expert Commission on Pensions, of course, CD Howe, Pension Committee, the Council on Aging that I'm part of, and many other key institutions. But what really strikes me the most about Bob from a personal perspective, apart from his knowledge and his expertise and his experience, is his exceptional character. I really believe Bob embodies true gentility, and he really exudes a calming presence that really sets him apart from other leaders. Oftentimes, I've been in a room filled with financial experts who take our ideas maybe too seriously, and discussions can get very heated as individuals will fervently defend their ideas. And then when Bob speaks, his voice has this unique ability to kind of restore a sense of peace and tranquility. The moment he speaks, it really becomes clear that he knows precisely what to say and how to say it, so as to restore, this kind of more collaborative, collective, informed environment. So I would say, kind of to sum it all up, Bob is not just an expert and a leader, he is also an anchor of calm and wisdom in an otherwise very complex field. So as we launch the PC, we believe that honoring leaders like Bob Baldwin, who have just really done so much for the system, and I would say they often do that without seeking praise or reward. It's really critical to our mission, and because the retirement income system really depends on the good works and the courage and the vision and the expertise and really the effort to drive those changes and to kind of bring everyone together. So through this award, we really do recognize Bob's outstanding contributions and reaffirm our commitment to continuing this important work. So we are concluding the first ever National Pension Awareness Week, and I can see no better way to celebrate it than to say on behalf of the National Student Aging, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to Bob Baldwin on receiving our inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award and for his work in pension policy. So I'm now going to turn it over to Alyssa Brierley to give some introductory remarks on behalf of the NIA. So thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie Jean, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As the Executive Director of the National Institute on Aging, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this special occasion as we come together to honor an extraordinary leader in pension policy. At the NIA, we're dedicated to advancing research, policies, and innovative solutions that support healthy aging and financial security for all Canadians. And as we celebrate National Pension Awareness Week and through initiatives like our newly launched Pension Center of Excellence, we're committed to working with our partners and industry leaders to strengthen Canada's retirement income system to ensure that all individuals can age with confidence and dignity. At the NIA, we're guided by a clear vision, a Canada where older adults feel valued, included, supported, and better prepared to age with confidence. And ensuring that Canada has a sustainable retirement system is a cornerstone of a society that values and supports its aging population. For 40 years, Bob has been at the forefront of shaping Canada's pension and retirement landscape. His leadership through roles at the C.D. Howe Institute, the Canada Pension Plan Advisory Board, the Ontario Expert Commission on Pensions and beyond, has played a pivotal role in shaping policies that impact millions of Canadians. His research, insights, and steadfast advocacy continue to guide policymakers and industry leaders in building a stronger and more equitable retirement system. Today, we're honored to recognize Bob's profound commitments and contributions with the inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award, honoring a legacy in pension policy. And this award is not just a reflection of his past accomplishments, it's a testament to the lasting impact of his work and the inspiration he provides to all of us working to enhance retirement security in Canada. So on behalf of the NIA, I want to extend my deepest congratulations to Bob Baldwin, and I invite all of you to join us in celebrating his remarkable legacy and continued influence on the future of pension policy. Thank you, Bob, for everything that you've done for Canada and for Canadians.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. So now we get to actually speak from some very respected folks from the pension industry. So we're going to start with Mitch Fraser. So Mitch is actually the co-founder of the NIA, and he's also the founder and managing partner of Mintz. He's a highly respected lawyer and thought leader in pension and benefits law. I think everyone here knows Mitch. He is a managing partner of Mintz. That is a global law firm. He's advised governments, corporations, institutions. And like I said, he is the co-founder of the NIA. So there's no better person, I think, than to help us in giving this award than Mitch Fraser. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I like the fact that you say respected, and I look on this group here. I feel always, overwhelmed by the amount of contribution to the pension industry, the aging process, just the impact of the entire group here that we've got online, and no one represents that more than Bob. To say that Bob is a legend in the pension industry would be probably the biggest understatement that anyone could say. It's easier to say things that Bob didn't do in the pension industry than the things he did do, because he did so many things. When you talk about the expert commission, we talked about his time at the Canadian Labour Congress. We mentioned that his work with C.D. Howe, which I know that Bill will talk about later. His vision on social policy, social equity, but more than anything else, he was really good at bringing people together. I don't think you'll find anyone whose views and visions were better accepted by politicians, citizens, workers, management alike. I often tell people the NIA, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Bob. I mean, Bob is really what the NIA tries to achieve. A practical balance on bringing ideas together and converting those ideas into practical thought to help individuals on a day-to-day basis. I think it would be very fair to say that no Canadian has put a greater focus on the life of seniors and the importance of the seniors and the process of aging well than Bob. I am incredibly proud today to know that Bob will be receiving our first award in excellence. There's no more deserving recipient. We at the NIA, as representatives of many in the industry, and all of our members are thrilled that you're here, Bob. Just know that your legacy will span not just this group, not people in the past, not people in current Canadian society, but in the future. You're a tremendous individual. You're a tremendous human. You're, I think all of us would say, genius would also be an understatement. Thank you for all you've done for Canadians, and thank you for being here today. I know many people when they receive awards say, "What an honor." I think I'd like to flip that around and say, "What an honor it is that you're accepting this award, Bob," because it just makes everyone who received this award, no one will live up to your standard, but it will make the award, way more meaningful because you're the first recipient. So on behalf of the entire NIA, thank you for being you, for being an amazing human being, and for changing the face of aging and social policy in Canada. You are without a word of saying that's another understatement. You are truly a great Canadian and the most deserving recipient of the award. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mitch. That was beautifully said. So the next person we're going to ask to speak is Barbara Zahn. So she's the president and CEO of the University Pension Plan. So just quickly by way of background, she is a recognized leader in the pension management and particularly in sustainable finance. She's the president and CEO of the UPP. She's played a really pivotal role in establishing the UPP. And that's basically a jointly sponsored pension plan that does serve Ontario's university sector. Now, previously, she also played an equally pivotal role at Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, where she really helped transform it into a global leader over her 25-year tenure there. I had to check that number twice because if she was there for 25 years and now she's at UPP, that means she started this job when she looks to be about 12. So I don't know, Barb, how you did that, but somehow you did. Anyway, she was a Doogie Howser, I guess. But she's also been recognized as one of Canada's most influential leaders in sustainability and finance. So I'm very happy to have Barb here to speak on Bob's behalf. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bonnie Jean. So good afternoon, everyone. And it's truly an honor to be before you today to share a few words about a man who has impacted our sector. Our understanding of pensions and retirement security cannot be overstated. So today we celebrate Bob Baldwin, a retirement visionary, a mentor, and one of Canada's most respected voices on retirement income. So I've had the great pleasure of working alongside Bob for many years. And from the time I got to know him, when he was on, so we talk about the Ontario expert panel, but he was on Ontario Teachers expert panel. You may remember that. I knew I was in the presence of someone special. Not only was he incredibly knowledgeable, but he was incredibly generous with that knowledge. Never guards his insights, he shares them freely, guiding those of us lucky enough to learn from him. So over the years, he's become my sounding board, a trusted colleague and a friend. And whether I needed advice on a complex issue, clarity on a policy, or simply just a wise perspective, I knew I could always turn to him. And I was not alone in that. And so many of us in this room, leaders in pensions, finance, policy, owe a debt of gratitude to Bob. So to say that Bob is an expert in pensions is an understatement. His work has shaped policies that impacted millions of Canadians. His insights have guided governments, financial institutions, and organizations, and I can say Ontario teachers for certain across the country. But beyond that, Bob truly what sets him apart is his dedication to people. He didn't just study pensions. He understood that behind every pension is a person. It's a retiree, and it's a family depending on that income. And he worked not just with brilliance, but with heart. So one of my favorite stories, Bob, is when we went to the Netherlands together during that expert panel. And this is the time when teachers was maturing and we had guaranteed inflation. And we're saying, how do we start sharing risk with the retirees? And the Dutch had an interesting model. And many of us now know it as conditional inflation protection. And Bob, I don't know if you recall that you insisted to talk to the union person first. And we arranged that. And I think Bob was saying, okay, I'm going to get some good insights from the people on the ground who are impacted by this pension so I can ask everyone else during the rest of the day. And, to my relief, I think he came in and he said, conditional inflation protection saved my pension. if I recall correctly. And that really kind of set the tone for the day and the visit. And eventually teachers did get conditional inflation protection. And Bob was a key part of that. And that's just who Bob is. So he's not just an expert, but he is a person who genuinely cares. So a true measure of a lifetime's work is the impact one has, and the impact of Bob's work is everywhere in the policies and the frameworks he helped shape, in the financial security of millions of Canadians who will retire with dignity because the work he was dedicated his life to, and there's people in this virtual room, myself included, who are better professionals, better thinkers, better leaders because of him. So Bob, if I can say one thing to you right now, it would be thank you. Thank you for this knowledge. Thank you for your mentorship, your kindness, your friendship. Thank you for challenging us, guiding us, and showing us what it truly means to make a difference. And thank you for a career that has shaped not just an industry, but the lives of so many. So today, we celebrate you, we applaud you. This is the part where everyone goes like this. And we thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Barb. That was really beautiful. So next we have Peter Hicks. So Peter is a distinguished policy expert. He's held really senior roles in the government of Canada, and he's focused on social policy and labor markets and retirement security. His work has really been instrumental also in advancing discussions on aging, the future of Canada's workforce. So please help me, join me to welcome Peter Hicks. Peter, you're muted. Oh. Maybe Jen, did you want to try to unmute him?
Okay, now I'm unmuted. There, I did it all by myself. I was just saying I sort of pity Karen and Bill who are following. There's a lot of similarity in the themes to date. Bill, you got a rough task to sum up. I couldn't agree more with the personality. I mean, Bob is just a huge leader. There's just no other way of putting it. I'm going to have to cut out quite a few of my remarks because they've been covered very nicely. I can't do better than that. I'll say a word about how I knew Bob. Then I'll talk a little bit more about his role in the retirement income system from a policy perspective. And then talking a final with a few observations again and how he's been able to apply that in practice in so many ways in affecting the policy side of the retirement income system. I know Bob most directly from the mid-90s on, where I was putting in the I was responsible inside the government for the new seniors benefit that never happened. And Bob was in the opposite to that. He opposed that, but always in the nicest, kindest, balanced, sensible, nonpartisan kind of way. And I also knew him at the OECD, where he was the CLC representative. And I've known from people talking at the OECD, he and Canada generally had a lot to do in a very positive way with the international regulations of workplace pensions around the world. We were a leader in that, and Bob, in his nonpartisan kind of way, had a big influence on the work in the 90s, setting up the regulatory frameworks around the world for workplace pensions. And I've worked, of course, Bob more recently on various projects and panels, and he chairs the Council on Aging Committee that Bonnie and many other of us at this meeting participate. Around this table, there isn't anybody, you need to give a lecture on the complexity of the retirement income system and complex. It's mind-boggling. It's numbingly complex on three fronts. On the private pension side, to an outsider, it is so complex. There's so many different schemes. They're so hard to understand. I just don't understand how anybody understands it. Bob does a series of little lectures and explains it to us, and I get it into my head, sort of, but with the sense that no one person can actually really understand all of that. And if anything on the public side, it's more mind-boggling. There's absolutely no way anybody can, even the best experts in the world, could understand the system that a low-income person must navigate. Well, they don't navigate it, and there's very few people who give them advice. The system is incredibly complex. When you take each part of it separately, it's, I say, mind-boggling. At the public policy side, of course, you have to look at how they all work together. Now we're really getting into strange stuff. There's just almost nobody. There are people who understand parts of it, but there's almost nobody who understands how the retirement income system actually works as a whole, affecting the lives of a population whose characteristics themselves, the work retirement characteristics themselves, are in fact evolving so dramatically. There is, however, one person who seems to meet the bill. That's Bob. He seems to know everything about it at a level where he has got a sense of how the system as a whole works, better than almost anybody I've ever met, but also how each of these little systems operate independently. It's just amazing. Besides all of that, Bob understands well how the retirement income system works with fiscal and other social policies. People have mentioned that, but that's really important. The retirement income system does not sit in a vacuum. It sits in a really complex political, fiscal, sometimes mess where you have to figure it out. He understands that. He actually understands the evidence base that supports the retirement income system. He's really good in the statistical studies. I don't think he'd advertise himself as a big practitioner of statistics, but he knows and works with other people who do it, knows how to get things done. Unlike almost anybody else, he also understands how the retirement income system, not just the private system or the public system, but how both systems operate in other countries and how that's evolving, which again is amazing. And he knows a lot about governance and politics, a lot to say with governance. In my dealing with Bob, how do you, he puts it together in a way, and people have covered it. It's so important. He puts it together in a way that's sensible, it's balanced, it's not high key, it's low key, it's thorough, and it's always based in evidence, not in partisanship. He doesn't steer clear of controversy. You know, look at the Alberta pension plan and his influential article there. So it's not that he's neutral in that sense, but the way he presents things is neutral, balanced, and just basically wise. And I'm not going to go over, there's just too many ways he's been in so many symposia, he writes articles, he's been in Council on Aging, he's been in all the other groups that you've mentioned. There's been hardly an initiative at the federal level anyway in Canada that deals with the retirement income system that Bob has not touched in an important kind of way. In my view, his most important contribution in the last few years has been his work in the future of the retirement income system. He's written a bit about that, and we've had discussions about that. I hope when he comes to do his remarks, he might give a few remarks about what he thinks of the future of the retirement income system. I can't think of anybody in the world who is more able and thoughtful to have that kind of discussion. So I'm looking forward to those remarks, Bob. And in conclusion, I just echo the other people in saying what a great leader you've been, what a great friend, you know, and how easy and nice it is to work with you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Peter. That's lovely. So next up, so I asked Bob if there were people he would like to kind of be at this event today, and he said Karen Reid. And I thought that was kind of interesting because Karen is an old friend of mine, and I'm really excited that she's going to also speak here today. So in addition to being my old friend, she's also she's a principal at Eckler. That's a leading actuarial consulting firm here in Canada, and she specializes in retirement and pension plan design. And she has extensive experience in advising public and private sector clients on pension governance, risk management, and financial sustainability. So with that, I'll pass it over to Karen Reid.
Thank you, Bonnie Jean. And hi, Bob. It's nice to see you and really nice to see you being honored here. So well deserved. So for everybody else's background, I know Bob because I'm the current actuary for QIP, which is the Canada-wide industrial pension plan. And Bob relatively recently retired from his position as facilitator and chair of the board of trustees for that plan. It was always such a pleasure to work with Bob. He's a respected leader who ran well-orchestrated meetings. And I loved that he always offered a significant piece of wisdom or a story before calling the trustees to vote. And actually, Barb, it's funny that you mentioned the Netherlands because one such story started with, Hey, did you guys hear about what the unions in the Netherlands did with their retirement system? So it all culminates and comes together. But I always also fondly notice that every time someone sat beside Bob at lunch, including me, they walked away with a new idea, new perspective, a new paper they wanted to read, or a new book they wanted to order. They always learned something new from chatting with Bob. And whoever sat beside Bob at lunch also heard great stories about his grandkids and the score of their last hockey games. So what I want to talk about today, though, is Bob's incredible vision and commitment. Like, we're all lucky to be practicing here in a current sort of environment of innovation and an evolving pension landscape. And we're all excited when a new pension plan is created or when a smart pension idea is converted into a retirement income tool that the law actually allows eventually. And I feel like Bob was working towards achievements like this decades before we all knew it was cool to do it. He was a big believer in the S in ESG before we were all slinging it around like a mainstream acronym. And here's why I say Bob's one of the originals. In 1970, Bob was instrumental in creating QUIP, with a mission to create a pension plan for unionized members of small and medium-sized employers who wouldn't otherwise have access to a pension plan. The groups in QUIP are all affiliated with the CLC, but they're not otherwise connected. Each group chooses their own plan provisions, but assets are pooled and invested together so that it's an efficient retirement vehicle and it's providing benefits that the members want. So more than half a century later, this plan is still going strong. And to this day, it's still considered innovative and unique by everyone who learns about it. Even better, obviously, is that that plan has provided pension coverage to tens of thousands of Canadians from coast to coast, all because of Bob's vision and commitment to something that he believes in. So many of my colleagues at Eckler were excited to hear about this award for Bob too. And I noticed that everyone I spoke to sort of had a similar response, and I'm hearing it regurgitated here today, but they all smile and make comments about Bob's wisdom, graciousness, kindness, eagerness to learn, and generosity with sharing his thoughts and time. We at Eckler all read any paper with Bob's name on it because we know it will be thoughtful and insightful, and he might ask us about it the next time we see him at lunch. And Bob helps us realize that as consultants at Eckler and in the industry, we need to support policies and academic papers that can really improve our pension system when they become a reality. So Bob, from me, David, Cam, Sean, Jill, Janice, and others at Eckler, thanks so much for your friendship, wisdom, and commitment to improving retirement outcomes for Canadians. This award and recognition is so well deserved, and we just all wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you so much, Karen. That was lovely. And then last is Bill Robson. So he's, of course, as everyone here knows, he's the president and CEO of C.D. Howe Institute, which is one of Canada's most influential think tanks on economic and public policy. As we know, C.D. Howe produces very cutting-edge research on fiscal policy, pensions, healthcare, and economic growth. He's a respected also economist and author. He's done a ton of publications. He's also a leading voice in shaping policy debates that impact Canadians' financial well-being and economic future. So please join me in welcoming Bill Robson. Thank you.
Well, Bonnie, Jean, and everyone, thank you very much. It's great to be here to pay tribute to Bob. Peter Hicks anticipated. I'm in the happy position, I guess, of underlining many of the compliments to Bob and his work that Peter, Mitch, Barb, and Karen already made. The logic of these things, Bob, is that we talk about you a lot in the third person. So leaning in, let me just say to you directly what an honor it is to be with you and your admirers today. I, like others who have talked, spent some time preparing for this, wondering when Bob and I first met. It was probably in the mid-1990s. And it was probably at some event where someone from the Canadian Labour Congress and someone from the C.D. Howe Institute might have different advice for government. I don't remember what, though. It could have been about the fixing the Canada and Quebec pension plans. It might have been about federal fiscal policy. If it was about the seniors' benefit, then we would have been on the same side of that issue. But we might have been appearing together at a parliamentary committee on any number of things, maybe debated on TV. So why would I not remember? Well, partly I think because I knew Bob by reputation already. So he would have been a presence for me, kind of time out of mind. And it might also be hard to recall because first encounters can be memorable if there's some kind of conflict and antagonism. And we probably did differ. Maybe it was a debate format, but I recall no negative emotion in any early encounter with Bob, or for that matter, any encounter with Bob at all. So I really am echoing what some of my fellow tribute payers have been saying, because what I do remember is his knowledge. A fact from Bob was a fact you could rely on. An opinion from Bob was based on fact. He respected facts and fact-based opinions from others. So when you engaged with Bob on an issue he saw differently, there was no antagonism in it. It was an encounter with a wise person, an opportunity which I hope I seized properly on those occasions to come away wiser yourself. The others paying tribute to you, Bob, have already highlighted the energy with which you applied that wisdom. And I because I know it directly, I'll just say a couple of things about the C.D. Howe Institute's experience, my colleagues and I. When we put our Pension Policy Council together in 2006, 2007, we had the field pretty much to ourselves. We were able to assemble the A-list of participants. And of course, the A-list included Bob. His insights at the council table, his careful reviewing of potential publications led me to ask as soon as I felt I could if he'd be willing to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard himself. And he did that first with Brian Fitzgerald. There was a 2010 report on regulatory responses to the stresses affecting DB and hybrid plans. If you go back now 15 years later and read that report, it's as informative and sensible as it was then. He's written at least 7 more C.D. Howe Institute reports since then. Peter mentioned the Alberta Pension Plan paper. I just want to highlight his probes of 2 iterations of the Survey of Financial Security for insights about which Canadians seem well set up for retirement and which not. That work, it's emblematic of Bob's approach. It's careful, it's reasoned, it's nuanced in its commentary about the strengths of the system and the gaps that need some attention. That leads me to the third compliment that I must pay, echoing as it does what others have said. In addition to Bob's wisdom and his skill, we've benefited from his energy, his passion for good public policy. And when the Institute's Pension Policy Council needed a new chair in 2020, we went to the top of our A-list. Bob, thank you very much for saying yes. Barb is now was co-chairing with you, and it's terrific to have her there. And Karen prefigured this exactly among the qualities that we've been complimenting. The respect for facts and reasoned argument, the energy, the desire to make things better, and the respect you commanded from the group just made you an outstanding chair. You were diligent, ensuring the program was in good shape, and a pleasure to work with in every way. So thank you for your contributions there. Thank you for your contributions to Canadians throughout your career. Thank you for your wisdom, your application, and your energy. You deserve this award. I hope you and your family enjoy the moment to the fullest. We're all enjoying the celebration and hoping to maintain our association for a long time to come. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Bill. That was beautifully said. And just I see Renee and Tammy's joined us. I just want to quickly thank you for coming. And I think now's the big moment where we get to actually, if Ruth would mind, so that's Bob's wife, to give him the trophy. Hi, Ruth. Thank you for helping us out today. Thank you for Bob for all the support you've been giving him. I think, I know it's a family affair to support someone who's so successful in their career. So thank you so much for sharing, Bob, all these years with the pension community. So I think, Bob, you're on mute. So if you want to unmute yourself, maybe Ruth, if you wouldn't mind passing him the award. And then we're going to turn it over to Bob to just share with us some of his wisdom, and then we'll take it from there. Just Jen, do you think you could help him unmute it, maybe? Let's see now. We're almost there. We're good.
I've sent a request for you to unmute. Do you see a little button?
If you can click the audio, the little button at the very bottom left, there's a microphone with an X over it. If you click that, your microphone will activate.
If you don't unmute, then those of us who were just singing your praises will start all over again.
We'll just rewind and repeat.
You can also just hold the space bar if that's
hold
easier.
the space bar down. Yes.
Okay, so Bob, hold the space bar down and that will unmute you. There you go.
You have to continue holding
Yeah,
it.
just hold it. Hold it down. It was working. Yeah,
Oh,
great.
okay, I've learned something new today.
I'll just hold it.
All right, there we go. So Ruth, if you don't, maybe show the, did you
Oh,
pass him the trophy?
I just had a couple of things to say.
Oh, please. Oh, thank you so much.
Yes. Well, I'm really proud to present this first ever Lifetime Achievement Award to Bob, because I know how hard he's worked on pension and retirement issues for the past 40 years. But hearing the comments from his colleagues and people he's worked with has given me a much richer understanding, excuse me, of the impact of his work over that time. So for the NIA and the Center for Pension Excellence to recognize and celebrate his leadership and his accomplishments is a very well-deserved honor. And Bob, let me present this to you.
Okay, let's hold it up in front of the screen. So
I don't think you probably can't really see it because it's clear, but it has the citation that was in the letter. And I can send you a picture of it. Anyway, congratulations.
Love it. Ruth, did you want to read what it says maybe?
Sorry?
Did you mind maybe reading what the trophy says? Is that possible?
It says Pension Center of Excellence Lifetime Achievement Award presented to Bob Baldwin in recognition of outstanding contributions, leadership, and unwavering dedication to advancing pension policy and retirement security in Canada.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ruth. This is great. And with that, I think we're going to hand it over to you, Bob.
yeah. What's happened here?
Hear you just fine, Bob.
I was okay.
We wanted the view of everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe Jen put it back to gallery view for Bob, because I think he wants to see everyone. There we go.
So I guess, first of all, I want to offer heartfelt thanks to the National Institute on Aging and the Center for Pension Excellence. I'm really moved by the receipt of this award. It came very unexpectedly and certainly lifted my spirits. So thank you very much. And thank you very much to the speakers today too. It's, you know, I was reflecting a while back on the thought that it's, when I did all the work I did on pensions, I wasn't thinking about the things you spoke to today, but I could understand with the benefit of hindsight, their meaning to other people. So thank you very much for that. You know, Peter expressed the hope that I would comment on the future directions of retirement income policy in Canada. And I think to do that in any sensible way would keep us here until at least midnight. And I suspect you have other things on your agenda between now and midnight. So I will comment briefly on a couple of matters, but maybe I feel challenged to write something because there are very interesting dynamics going on in our society that will change what people want and their capacity to be eligible for pensions under current rules. And also one small thing that's been on my mind lately, and I can't resist
noting is that, you know, it's widely understood that people are living longer in old age, and we associate that reality so strongly with the expense associated with providing pensions. But there's another dimension to it that's really important, and that is post-retirement adjustments to pensions. So inflation or wage growth, whichever one you choose as your marker, has a compounding effect through time. And the longer you live, the more important that compounding effect gets. And I feel in the realm of pension design, for example, that we probably place too much emphasis on how much you get paid when you walk out the door, and too little emphasis on what you're going to get paid when you're 10, 15 years down the road, because nowadays more and more people are living not only 10 to 15, but 20 or more years. The other thing that, couple of other things I will comment on. One of them is that I have been concerned about the way the retirement income system deals with low earners, because they typically end up on the guaranteed income supplement in old age. They may also be eligible for provincial top-ups. The so what of that is that the value of every dollar that they generate through pre-retirement savings is hugely diminished. And I am familiar with one initiative, but so far I'm only familiar with one initiative here in Canada, where a pension plan was allowed to be registered with contributions and benefits treated on a TFSA basis, which gets you out of that problem. And I don't know whether this is the wave of the future, Peter, or a one-off, but I think it is, as I say, quite important. I'll mention a couple of other things. One is the Old Age Security Program. As Bonnie Jean has pointed out in some of her recent writing, this is the absolute bedrock of the retirement income system. But it's a bedrock that is frequently ignored in public discourse. We talk a lot about workplace pension plans, how they're designed, how they operate. We talk about CPP, QPP, and say virtually nothing about OASGIS. In my view, the OASGIS cannot just run as is. You got the problem on the one hand that if we have any real wage growth, the value of OAS in replacing pre-retirement earnings and alleviating poverty is diminished. On the other hand, with the current age of eligibility, if you try to have it track wage movements, you've got a program that's absolutely impossibly expensive. So there are some real dilemmas to work out. And on the one side, you've got fiscal impact concerns, and on the other side, you've got incentive concerns, and somehow or other, those two sets of concerns are going to have to end up being reconciled. But the program design issues, as I say, are what's the appropriate adjustment, rate of adjustment, and also what's the appropriate age of eligibility, because the age of eligibility can certainly redress some of the expense problems. You know, and I'm going to mention one last thing. A number of you have alluded to the incredible complexity of the Canadian retirement income system. We've got individual programs like CPP that could take you a lifetime to understand, and you put it together with workplace pensions, OAS, individual savings events. And while I'm satisfied that each individual component of the system has adequate oversight and understanding, I am struck by the fact that there are few, if any, institutions that have a mandate to view the whole system and how programs interact with each other, how they're likely to respond to social and economic change. And the Center for Pension Excellence has scope to do that kind of thing. Don't mean to put you on the spot, Bonnie Jean, but it is important, I think, to have some institution that really tries to pull it all together and present a view. You know, again, I'll go back to Peter challenging me to speak about the future of the retirement income system. I've offered a few thoughts on a few segments. And what went through my mind, Peter, when you said that was, if I say anything, it's downhill from all those lovely tributes that were paid to me. So I couldn't improve on them. And so there was a serious temptation to just say thank you and goodbye. But I did refrain from that, at least by degree. Anyway, once again, I want to thank the NIA, the Center for Pension Excellence, the speakers who spoke, all of you who decided to join this afternoon's gathering. I'm happy to see some faces I haven't seen for a while. Hi, Rob. So it's been an absolute joy. And Ruth, of course, she actually, you know what? I'm sorry I didn't get it out at the front end, but I was thinking that she deserves an award of her own, which I have to look after. She has put up with more years of pension babble than you can imagine. And she's usually very polite about accepting it. There have been one or two occasions when, like the famous boxer Roberto Duran, she said, no mas. But generally, she's been very polite and accepting, and a huge help along the way. So that is it from me for today. And thank you all so much. This is a very happy moment in my life.
Thank you so much, Bob. You deserve it. Ruth deserves it. I think it's a privilege to be the ones who get to actually give you this award. I think I speak for everyone. I think this award's made everyone happy. I know whenever I told people, they just, they had kind of a glowing face. It's almost like they got an award because they just have such a warm heart towards you, Bob. And so, yeah, I think we're just really happy to have this opportunity this Friday afternoon. So with that, we're going to wrap up this event. I want to thank everyone so much for being here. I know it's hard to carve out this kind of time sometimes, and I think we're really grateful, and it really means a lot, I think, to all of us. But before we go, we would like to take a group photo just of everyone here. And then what we're going to do is it's going to be like a wedding. Then we're going to take a picture of Bob and Ruth kind of in a big picture. So I don't know how to do that, but let's try this. Maybe if Jen and also, I'm sorry, before I leave, I need to thank two really important people who made this all possible. And that's our Director of Comms, Magdalene Stipp, and our Director of Events, Jen Ornstein. So I just want to please everyone thank them, because it's their hard work that took an idea. It was within, I think sometimes people plan these events for months. They had more weeks. So I think just a big thanks to them for making this into a reality. So big thanks to them. And of course, to Alyssa Brierly, our leader in chief, who actually said, yeah, let's do that. That makes sense. I want to be part of this. So big thanks to Alyssa for going along with the crazy idea and making it happen. So, and yeah, I think we're all really happy though to have done it.